Well, first of all, I wanted to thank you all for being here today. As March wraps up and National Women's History Month wraps up, I'm just really grateful that we can take the time to talk about, our experiences at Sporting Kansas City and just experiences of women in the sports industry in general. And something that I love to kick off our conversation is, I don't want to call it the elephant in the room, but this is definitely, stereotyped as a man's industry. And I just want to hear a little bit about the challenges you had. Has there ever been times where you walked in the room and thought, wow, I'm the only woman here? And in those moments, how did you choose to, move forward, or did it hold you back in those aspects?
When I first started off, I would say that was something that I always noticed. I was aware that I was often the only woman of color. But I would say over the years, again, now going into my 14th year, it's changed a lot. I think for me, the biggest part that was just glaring is just trying to find people that you can, find community with, who can be your allies, who can speak your name in rooms when you're not there. And so that was something that I knew I had to learn right away. There's studies that show that the more diversity of thought you have in a room, the more successful an organization will be. So I tried not to focus too much on that being the reality, and knowing that there's a place for me here. I'm supposed to be here because I will improve the spaces that I occupy. So.
And you definitely will. And I think that's the fact of there's space for everybody, and the fact that it is, and I work more on the business side of sports. So obviously there's a lot of males, but we are bringing more females to the table. And so I've been in a lot of situations where I am the only female, but I feel very empowered in that position, because there's a lot of people that would love to be in the room there where I have this seat. And also just advocating for people that are also able to then hopefully join us in the future, and kind of just making space for it. It starts with a few steps to get that in that direction. So I think it's very exciting, the fact that there's more females in sports. There's obviously more room to grow.
I can tell it almost like lights a fire under you when you're like the only woman in a situation. And I think that's a really cool perspective to have on it. Instead of, oh, I'm the only woman. Instead, yeah, I'm about to change everyone in here's opinion and mindset and make them think of all the things they're not thinking of. So I think that's such a cool perspective to have.
There's so much value in us being there, and obviously them providing value as well, but just seeing how we can all interact together, do better business together, be successful together. There's a lot of that synergy that can happen when we're all in the room.
I think this club does a really good job of hiring people who are qualified, and that includes a lot of qualified women. So I've found a community here with people who aren't even in my department, where I can cross the office and go chit chat with Caitlin, or go chit chat with, anyone, and know that they have my back. I think early in my career, imposter syndrome was definitely like something that took over me, where I was like, well, I'm not like the best writer, and I'm not the most knowledgeable in soccer. I'm really a fan. But it was having other women supporting me and being mentors for me that helped me a lot, even if they weren't in my department exactly. My perspective from my background and my culture, and even just the way I view soccer, can bring something to the table. I am from Mexico, and to pull in Ted Lasso, football is life out there. Everyone loves soccer, they play soccer, they're involved in it somehow. And it was more so of you know what, no, I'm gonna prove them wrong. I'm gonna make them like these articles that I'm writing. I'm gonna show them maybe you didn't see this side of this player because you don't interact with them in the same way. But I also think it's just the community we've built with the women's group that we have, that Marika, you actually spearhead, and we go grab coffee, or we decorate cookies together. It's just being intentional of hey, we are all spread across different departments. We may not interact every day, but let's get together once in a while, have a moment to talk and just discuss our days and connect as women in this network.
Yeah, touching on our resource group, Women of SKC, it's really great because yes, it's so much professional help. We've had women across the office talk about different, speakers and conferences they want to attend, and it's always been supported by the club for that woman to, take that time, cover those expenses to be able to professionally develop. But so much more than that, it's really a community of friendships as well. It's having those after work hours, we go through long match days. We're not leaving the stadium until pretty late, but we're walking each other to our cars. We're talking about things outside of your 9 to 5, because you can work your whole life, but it's great that we can enjoy it too with the people we're surrounded by. How about you, Becky? I know you work with some of these players and staff, directly. I bet there's not much overlap between genders in those situations.
Right, right. I mean, I am considered part of the technical team, and I will say there's just a handful of us there. I think my position's a bit unique in that I was the first person stepping into it. There had not been a mental performance coach prior to me stepping into that position. So I think that actually helped in a lot of ways because we were all kind of feeling out like, what is this going to look like and how does this go? And they really truly felt like I was the expert in the room about these situations. Walking into the room, I felt the level of trust in what I was doing, and I think that helped me just feel more and more at home in that space.
Yeah, and there's a reason that you're there. And I think that
Right.
where it is, you're walking in and you're like, oh my gosh, am I the only one here? And it's like, wait, I'm actually here for a reason.
Right.
And they chose me
right.
to be here. And I think that is just setting the standard moving forward, hopefully. So
Yeah,
take that,
for
own
sure.
that, empowered with that.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Absolutely. You hit that on the nail. I think, most women typically think, why am I here? Where men typically go, yeah, I'm here, I'm going to do it. I think the more steps we can empower each other and help support each other just to get rid of that block of uncertainty just changes the experiences for everyone. Something as, a young professional that I'd love to ask you guys, what's your advice for the future generation? What's your advice for the little girls who may be watching this video and think they want to be here? Or the people our age who may want to make that jump, however, to become a fan in their lives, or even the older, women who are just watching this for fun and want to hear about what's going on and what goes well to apply to their own lives.
I'll say two things is I think one of the big things is to continue to challenge yourself and celebrate those wins. Even just think of it outside of the work setting. I think a lot of times because sports, it bleeds into the weekends. It sometimes is after the 5 o'clock hours. And so it's easy to associate our jobs as our identity. So also just thinking of what are those successes you have outside of your job is important. So build confidence outside of your job, but also celebrate those wins. I think that's hard for women specifically. And the second thing is just finding community, because you can encourage and self-talk yourself as much as you can, but there's power when you have other people around you that see the goodness in you, that sees the confidence in you, that can talk you up. And so try not to do your work in silos. It's important to find community at work, outside of your job.
I love it all so much, from, finding those communities, having those wins outside of work, both in and out of the office, and celebrating them, not just, oh, hey, I did this, let's move on.
Yeah.
Really taking in the moment every day. Life goes by so fast. Like, let's celebrate those little wins we have with each other.
For young professionals, my biggest advice is to trust in yourself and trust the knowledge that you have. We are the subject matter experts in our field for a reason. Like, I could not do what Chioma does in the community impact space. I could not do what you do or what Becky does. I can only do what I do, and trusting that I have that knowledge and that I'm able to share it with people so that they can learn something as well. There's a lot of self-doubt and there's a lot of self-talk of being like, well, I'm not the best at this, or it's just trusting that you have your abilities and you have a unique perspective that no one else can bring but yourself.
No, I was just going to say too, for a younger audience that is looking to, when they're saying, oh, sports is male dominated, they're obviously seeing females here that are speaking on their behalf. But I think even too, just not seeing it as a challenge, but more so of an exciting push to go get more. So I hope that they're empowered by seeing this. They're excited about the future and where we're going. I think there's a lot of really cool things that we can all do together and successes that we can have.
Well, and it's interesting that conversation, because I have a daughter who is turning 18 today. Yeah, exciting. So we have these conversations as she's moving into her adulthood and going to college next year in the fall to figure out what she wants to do. And my advice, to her and really to any young person is, find something and do that well. Learn your craft very, very well. Being really, really good at your craft is a great way for opportunities, and then take them. When opportunities open up, take them. Because I know a lot of people, again, kind of that hesitate of, oh, this is really safe and I'm not sure if I want to leave this. But, if there's an opportunity that you're challenged, that you are doing something that you can build upon and start something new, get really good at what you're doing and then take those opportunities.
For sure. And you might not know what those are too,
Yeah.
whenever you're 18 and you're like, what is this
Right.
going to look like? And then now looking back on the years that I've had in my career, I'm like, it actually made sense.
Yeah.
But you don't know
Yes.
until you say yes to the opportunities and you're like, okay, that sent me then here, that then made sense. But at the time you're like, I have no idea where this is going.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
just trusting that and being open to it.
And just to tag along onto like both of your guys' points, like never to be so hard on yourself. I feel like there's such a pressure from a young age to know exactly what you're doing and to be the best of the best at it. You still can be those things, but you know, we got a lot of time. You know, you have a lot of time to fall and get picked back up and to find your community and your support system. And I also would like encourage, ask for help. You know, I don't think you guys have ever turned down someone asking for help or to even shadow or advice, especially a woman in those standpoints. But it can be so intimidating to ask those people, especially when you see, you know, really successful women. Instead of being intimidated by it, look at it as like a good resource and inspiration to, wow, if she did it, that means I can do it too kind of mentality.
I love what you said about it not being linear, because for a lot of people, you start off in one career and end up in another. I didn't start in sports until I was 25, 26 years old. You know, if you would have told me straight out of college that I would be doing this, I'd be like, absolutely not. I'm a legal assistant. I'm staying in this. But then to like fast forward to where I am now, I'm 31, and I'm like, I can't imagine a life outside of this. Like, this is so weird. So your process is never going to be linear, and you could have an interest now, and down the line it could change and morph into something else.
Totally.
When I was entering the sports world as an intern, I had no idea about all the job opportunities within sports. It's like we have people in marketing, we have people in communications, we have people in accounting, we have people on our legal team. There's so much diversity in just the opportunities within sports. So I would also encourage young women too, that if you are interested in working in sports, to just be open to the different jobs. And initially when I said yes to this position, I didn't know exactly what I wanted to. So I think it's also important to understand what you don't like or maybe what, you know, some other things that you want to experiment with. So yeah, I'm blown away by how many job opportunities are in the sports industry now.
That's a great call out. Yeah. And I did not play soccer, so I wouldn't have thought that I would ever be here. But now that there's an opportunity for partnerships and marketing and revenue sales and all of that, that it's like, oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
I totally agree. You never want to see me on a field, you know. But behind the screen, behind the field, I'm with you on that.
I've played other sports, just not soccer, so I did not know that this was
But we
going to
love
all
to
line
watch
up.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I wanted to thank you all again for being here today. I had so much fun getting to know, you know, your stories, your background better. I feel motivated and inspired right now. I know everyone at home is too. And yeah, thanks again to Sporting Kansas City that brought us all here together today and to do what we do.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.